Now, going through this, what is Myers-Briggs? So Myers-Briggs is a psychological assessment that divides people into 16 types. So individuals of the same type, according to Myers and Briggs, think and act in predictable similar ways. The official assessment is a multiple choice test, about 100 questions, takes about 20 minutes. What does it tell you? It tells us what types of activities someone's likely to enjoy. Not which activities in particular, but what types of activities, right? How will they generally react to broad types of situations? It does not tell you about things like goals, values, ethics, intelligence, motivation. As I got ready for this talk and tried to find out, is there science behind MBTI? There is none. Like literally zero science behind MBTI. Now, does that mean MBTI doesn't work or is useless? No. Should you use this in hiring your office staff? Because that's really where this would potentially come into play. Should you use personality assessments? Can that prevent you from making the bad hire? Just because there's not science doesn't mean that it's not meaningful, but it's definitely not science. It's not something that we as medical providers and scientists should be thinking, this is real. And the whole theory behind it is much more philosophy than it is science. There are some ways that it makes some sense to use it in your office, but it's the simpler the job, the more Myers-Briggs makes sense, right? So for a medical assistant, it makes some sense to use Myers-Briggs because that's a fairly straightforward job. There's a right way to be a medical assistant and there's a not right way to be a medical assistant, right? If you look at, say, a dermatologist or an office manager, there's a lot of different ways you can be a really good dermatologist, a lot of different ways you can run an office really well. So Myers-Briggs might help tell you what kind of an office manager someone will be, but it won't tell you if they'll be a good one. So is there something better though? The nearest type indicator. And this is much better than Myers-Briggs in terms of scientific validity, right? So they have a very similar plan: extroverted versus introverted, intuitive versus observant, thinking versus feeling, judging versus prospecting. Very similar, same letters as Myers-Briggs. They added one more, so assertive versus turbulent. But basically what they did was squeeze the scientifically validated big five. These are those primary traits: openness to new experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, and then agreeableness, and then neuroticism. So should you use these, right? So I do, as I said, use them in my practice. We actually usually have people take it after we've hired them because there's a fair amount of legal concern around having people take things like a personality assessment as part of the hiring process. But the most important factors are not their Myers-Briggs type. The most important factors are motivation, intelligence, values, which is impossible to measure objectively. That's why Myers-Briggs doesn't predict job performance and those kinds of things. It gives you an idea of who's going to fit better and fit easier, but it doesn't give you an idea of who's going to be better, right? It is the main takeaway from this. So there are ways you can use it that make sense and can make your life easier, but it's not as powerful as sort of I'd always hoped it would be.